Hello friends, Jerry Rosa here in the workshop, and we've got an episode of Why Do Bridges Fail? It's one of the most common problems with guitars. If you stop and think about it, and I read somewhere, don't recall where, that each string has around 60-65 foot-pounds of pressure on it, times 6, so you're right up in the hundreds of pounds of pressure on a little 1/8 inch thick guitar top with some 1/4 inch wide bracing. So right away you've got you're teetering on the edge of destruction, if you will. So that's probably the first reason why bridges fail. There's just a lot of tension on them. But there's some other very common reasons why they fail also, and I wanted to point those out to you. And I've got one here in the shop right now, which is actually the first one I've ever seen just like this that created this problem, and I've been doing this for 30 years. So let me just point the camera down to the guitar top here and we'll start talking about that. This is a Recording King guitar, and I am not picking on Recording King at all. I think they're pretty darn good guitars for what they are and what they cost and everything. This bridge, just typical, was pulling up from the back edge here. Just, I'm exaggerating here, but if you would lift this up, that's the way the bridge was coming loose. And that's the most common way they do come loose. As a matter of fact, that's probably the only way they come loose. And that again is because of all the torque and pressure pulling on it. Now, the typical process for this is in a workshop or whenever you're building an instrument in a production environment, they basically spray the whole instrument, and the bridge is not on there at that time. So they spray the whole top, they apply the pick guard and the bridge later. But so you got to imagine this whole top covered with lacquer. Well, in a one-on-one shop, what you do after that is you set your bridge in place and you score a very fine line around this. And then you peel away all the lacquer that's underneath this area where the bridge is supposed to go. But a lot of the shops were taking shortcuts, especially in the 80s, 90s time frame, and maybe still. And what they would do is they would take a little narrow piece of masking tape and just lay it across the top, then spray the lacquer on it, and then later come back and peel that masking tape off. Well, that left a little 3/4 inch wide strip of bare wood, and then they would glue the bridge down to that little 3/4 inch wide strip of bare wood. Well, that left the back edge of the bridge sitting on lacquer, and there was no glue, or even if there was glue, the glue wouldn't stick to the lacquer, so those pulled up like crazy. I fixed dozens of those where you could tell that they just put a little strip of tape there and glued it down. This one was a step better than that. They did try to do it the right way. They did score where the bridge is supposed to be, but unfortunately they did a couple other things really wrong, and maybe we can zoom in on this and see it. First of all, and I don't know how well this is going to show up in the video, they scored inside of where the bridge would be. You can see the score line inside of here, about a 1/16 of an inch from the front and about an 1/8 inch from the back. And this finish is pretty thick, so in essence the bridge was sitting up on top of the finish with a gap of air below it, and tried to glue that to this top. Well, and I've seen that many times, so that's not totally uncommon. But again, that's just a recipe for failure. You need to get the bridge in contact with the wood all the way around. But worse than that, for some reason, they scored across here, and my guess is they scored across there to break the finish so that they could begin peeling it off. But they scored it really deep, and as you can see, there's wood lifting up right here. Whoops, I got it out of camera, sorry. There's wood lifting up right here on those score lines, and there's wood lifting up everywhere. And when I took the bridge off, lots of that wood peeled off to those score lines. Okay, well, why did they do that? My guess is those score lines were cut by one of two things. Either a total amateur, it was his first, maybe he's an apprentice and it was maybe his first, second, third guitar that he'd ever done that on, Or it could exactly be the opposite. It could have been a really highly professional that was really trying to turn out production, get a bunch of them done, and he was just scoring it as fast as he could, and he scored too deep, and because he was going so fast. So it's one of those two things probably. But anyway, that did create a problem. But I just wanted to point out to you why they fail. So they generally fail because they're not glued really well to the top. This one's got additional issues. Because of those score lines, that creates a situation like if you were going to cut a mortise in wood, the first thing you do is you score across the wood and you chisel to that mortise line. And because that breaks the wood. Well, that's what this is creating. It's creating a situation where it wants to break up to those lines. So I'm just going to do the best I can with this. What I'm going to do, I already removed all the wood off the back of the bridge. This bridge was just full of wood that had broken up to those score lines. So I've cleaned the bridge off completely flat, got all the old glue off of it. I am now in the process of trying to remake this whole area flat again, doing the best I can to get rid of the score lines as much as possible. I've still got more wood to remove here, but basically what I'm going to try to do is get this area flat again, then get this in perfect contact with that top, make sure that it's not rocking anywhere, and then I'll glue it back in place and hopefully we'll have success. But I had never seen that before where these score lines were cut across there like that, and I just wanted to point that out in the video. Well, we've got this bridge cleaned on this Recording King guitar, and we've got the bridge cleaned off perfectly flat. We've got this area cleaned up and has made it as flat as we can make it by hand, of course, and we got rid of most of the scoring lines, which will help some. I've test fitted it here and it fits down in the finish. I mean, literally I scored the finish and basically just carved all that wood with inside of those score lines flat, and it seems to be working really well. It doesn't move. It's kind of held in place by the finish because the finish is sticking up proud of the bridge all the way around now, slightly. Anyway, what I'm going to do now is just show you the process of gluing it back on there. First of all, a lot of places they'll just squirt glue on here and clamp it. Truly, that's what they do. But you're going to see that I don't do it that way. I take a lot of time. I make sure the glue is spread completely over every single place that it can be glued. I paint it all the way with inside those finish lines. Every bit of wood gets covered with glue. And you only get one chance to do this, so there's no point in getting in any hurry, and there's no point in doing it halfway. You want to make sure that you've got 100% coverage. Now we're going to do the same process to the bridge itself. Exactly the same process. We're going to spread the glue out, make sure that it's 100% covered. Alright, so we've got it 100% coated very well. Now we'll set it in place, and like I said, if you've cut that out really well, the finish will literally hold the bridge in place. It's not going to slide around on you. I saw on someone else's video that they have to hold it in place with bridge pins and all kinds of things. Well, like I said, if you cut that out just right, that finish will literally hold the bridge where it's supposed to be. Now I'm going to get a wet rag and clean this up. Okay, this first cleanup here, I'm just hand pressing it in place, and what squeezes out I wipe up. And just makes it a little easier whenever you get the clamps on it. Don't have quite as much squeeze out that way. There will be a lot more squeeze out though if you do it right. Okay. Alright, now the clamps. Here's one of the most popular clamps. Basically I set that on there and get it in place where these feet are going to cover the ends of the bridge real good. Pretty much you're aligning it with the front of the bridge. Then we've got the clamp, and I'm opening that up here to fit it on there. Now, a lot of people would just use this, and this would be all they would use, but that's not good enough, in my opinion. So we'll center this one, and I'm making sure I'm underneath there in a good solid place on the bridge, on the bracing on the inside. And I'll tighten this down pretty good. And you can start to see a little squeeze out already. Now I'm going to press these end feet into place, and you're going to see a lot more squeeze out. Yep, it's starting to squeeze out. But in my opinion, that's not good enough. I'm going to add these two clamps to it also. My clamps have a leather pad on the inside here to help keep from damaging anything on the inside. And then I tighten that down snug, and I put another one on it on the other side. Snug. You get more and more squeeze out, the tighter you get all these clamps. Okay, and then that's still, in my opinion, not good enough. But before I put the rest of it on here, I'm going to wipe this extra glue that's squeezing out off. It's just easier before I put this next little process in place. And you're thinking, well, what else could you do? Well, I'll show you. And actually, this next little process is probably the thing that makes it work the best. I'm going to take these little, I have a lot of wedges pre-cut. These little wedges, now I'm going to slide them in underneath. There'll be a few open places, and I slide them in, and believe it or not, whenever you slide those in, that's what actually where the glue starts to squeeze out. It just bubbled even right then when I did that. I could see bubbles coming out. You can't get it too good. That's all I can tell you. You might as well do everything you can to make sure that it's making good contact. Okay, and then I'm just going to very lightly tap them. And I see a little bit more squeeze out, but not very much this time. It looks like it's about done. And I'll just take a paintbrush and clean that up. Okay, it looks good. For the most part, you won't even be able to tell the bridge ever came off. There was actually a teeny bit of damage in the very front of this bridge, where it chipped just a little bit of finish, just a little small chip, but other than that, you will never know it came off of there. And on that little chip, I'll put a little drop of finish back in there just to kind of disguise that a little bit, although you'll still be able to tell it, but not very bad. Anyway, that's how I glue one up, and I thought that might be helpful to see. Hope this has been information that you can use, especially if you're building your own instruments. The main thing you want to do is get this full bridge in full contact with the top before you glue it. Well, if you have instruments that need a bridge fixed on them, just send them to Rosa String Works. Check out my website, rosastringworks.com. Thank you.